5 months, not much. But that don't bother me so much because it's a little bit tight, but we can do it and it will be spectacular. Welcome to the 90s, Mr. Punk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the IMMP podcast from the Inter-Millennium Media Project. My name is Matthew Porter.
I'm Ian Porter.
I'm his dad. He's my son.
And I'm Jennifer Ogden, and I'm Ian's fiance and Matthew's future daughter-in-law.
Yay! I've mentioned her so many times and she's here.
Yeah, it is so wonderful to have you as a guest on this podcast.
Happy to be here.
And we are recording this in advance because it's about to get very busy around here.
Yes.
But according to our schedule, this episode is going to drop on our podcast feed the day after we were married.
I'm so excited.
Oh.
We're doing kind of a variation on The Millennial Strikes Back.
We kind of are.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie I did not see until recently, but it's also not a movie that was big in Ian's youth. Jen, you picked out this movie for us.
Yes.
For us to talk about.
Yes. It's
The daughter-in-law strikes back.
yes, the daughter-in-law. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite movies growing up, and it's actually the first live-action fictional representation of a wedding I ever saw. So like I'd seen Cinderella and Snow White and those things, but there's not really a wedding, I would say. You know, it's Prince kisses and they get married, right? Because that's what it's like in real life. No. But Father of the Bride was really the first time I ever saw a live action wedding in a fictional story.
Oh, Father of the Bride, the 1951 classic. No.
No, we are not talking about the Spencer Tracy version.
No.
Whoever that is.
This is the 1991 version.
Yes, Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, Diane, Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Short.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great cast.
Screenplay co-written by Nancy Myers.
Yes.
Who's one of my favorite writers.
She's great.
Where it's as we record this, it's almost time for the annual viewing of The Holiday.
Yay!
Nice.
But yeah, I had never seen this movie.
Oh.
What is I'm so excited.
You see, what for me, this is we rewatched it, but then one of the early dates we did was he was showing me this film
And the sequel.
because you love this series that much.
I do.
But it's a fun film, and I enjoyed it all the way because Steve Martin is doing so much in this film because he's both the narrator and our focus character, and it is absolutely from his perspective. I mean, title character, Father of the Bride and such. But it's a fine example of his comedy work. And his drama in that. He's got a good balance of both in this film.
And I came into this, when I was a kid, I was such a huge Steve Martin fan. When he was really most known for stand-up, being on Saturday Night Live, had his stand-up albums, big Steve Martin fan. And I had the experience of kind of watching him move into movies with things like The Jerk, the things that adapted his own stand-up ideas into film. I think you're onto something here, Ian, because this is sort of a transitional movie for Steve Martin for me. It's like the missing link. I can now see, because I liked his old weird comedy. Mm-hmm. He turned into such an interesting dramatic and comedic actor. Mm-hmm. This sort of shows him combining these as he sort of moves from one to another in that early 90s period.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
There's also, so I can't remember what movie it was that in the behind the scenes, he talks about how he started getting really invested and interested in playing father figures.
Yeah.
Because he's like, fathers have to pretend like they have it all together, but they don't.
Yes.
And that really interested him, and he really enjoyed it. And I think, I don't know, didn't check this, but this is one of the earlier times where he actually plays a father in a movie. So it's also really cool to see him like kind of almost come alive in that and really enjoying.
This is also a wild snapshot of the early 90s. In the most fascinating way, just because of we start out and it's setting the stage of the fact that the daughter is coming home from this trip abroad, and we get to see him working in his shoe factory with all his staff. It's very 90s in that sense. There's something about all this aesthetic and the basketball games outside and such that just rings so clearly to a decade for me.
The whole style looks 90s. The parents look right? The little brother is wearing kind of what I think I was probably wearing around the time when I watched this, and whereas the daughter's wearing like the sophisticated just out of college in the 90s, right? We did definitely love when Martin Short, as the wedding planner, said, Steve Martin is going, that much money for cake? And he's like, welcome to the 90s. And Ian and I just was like, that wouldn't pay for anything.
I pulled the inflation calculator at least once or twice as this movie becomes this rolling ball of comedy chaos. But it's comedy chaos, but I would not call it screwball. Nothing ever feels completely out of anyone's depth. It's only ever really out of Steve Martin's depth.
Yeah.
He's the one overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rest of it's a rough time. It's not always smooth, but it's watching this train of events chug along and him running alongside trying to keep up the entire time.
We really see his character. He gets the news that his daughter is engaged. And the whole thing is structured around the stages of grief.
Yeah.
He has denial, anger, bargaining, despair, and eventually acceptance. I don't think that's like, and I found that interesting because we think about grief in terms of the death of a loved one, naturally. But I think it's a human response to any big change that we're not expecting.
Yeah.
How we deal with the unexpected in that way. And it's an interesting way to structure a movie that isn't about death. About the opposite. It's about life and love and beauty.
Especially with, you get to see his entire life, his business, his home that they love so much, everything. And then this event, very Hero with a Thousand Faces, upends that.
Right.
Orphically, his own daughter's wedding becomes the underworld he must walk through to get to the other side and return back to his normal with new insight.
Yeah.
Really works.
Yeah, and he has to confront his own mortality. He can't pretend he's not getting older because his daughter is about to get married.
I love that moment when she's like at the table and he's like, "You're too young to get married," and his own wife is like, "No, this was the age when I birthed her. Right? She's plenty old to get married."
Right. But also, there's that wonderful cutaway bit where he's listening to his daughter tell him about having met this guy while she was studying abroad and how wonderful he is. And it cuts back, and there's this little girl at the table. I met a guy, and we're going to get married. It's so...
this little 8-year-old in pigtails.
So perfect, because it shows that, split between his mental perception and the space actually in front of him, what he's actually experiencing.
Right.
And he's not quite getting those to click right now, and that's where this stress and tension comes from.
And what I also love is that it shows such a healthy relationship between husband and wife, because Diane Keaton character, once the kids have gone out, she calls him out on it. It was like, you still see her as a girl in pigtails. And he's like, no, I don't. When the audience literally knows he just did.
Exactly.
So I thought that was really cool.
She understands his thought process because they are so close and have been.
Right.
And in some ways, we see the fact that they have given their daughter a good model of a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And that explains her enthusiasm for having met someone she can be with for forever.
Yeah.
And I like all of that. I like the structure. I think some of the performances are amazing. The tone was, it couldn't decide on a tone. And it was too many abrupt changes. There was a lot of this dramatic character work. It was all a comedy through. It was supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Sometimes Steve Martin's character was so ridiculous, so unself-aware, so over the top, so unlikable that it made me hard to sympathize with him enough to follow him on the journey. I do know it's got to be a journey, so he has to start not being perfect. He has to start somewhere that gives him room to grow and become a better person. I had trouble connecting with him at the beginning because he was so much an early Steve Martin movie character who was being over the top and ridiculous and crazy. And it didn't mesh with the subject and didn't mesh with the journey we were supposed to follow him on.
There's an element to the structure of this film that is episodic like a TV series
Yep.
instead of a film. Because every time he enters a new event or situation leading into the wedding, he resets just a little back on how much he's learned and how much he went through yet in order to go through that comedic overreaction again. And it's only when the end is arriving does the cumulative lessons collapse in onto his character and help him get through it. But you watch him, they do a decent job kind of blending that by showing him reignited with worry at the new thing coming in. But it lends that to that episodic, oh, here's the we are dealing with where it's happening. Here's the we're going out to buy the cake and he has his breakdown at the grocery store. Here's the oh goodness.
Yes.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. But it's very much structured with those segments. And that both helps in the stages of grief aspect, in the watching him work through, in all the different individual parts that have to come together to be a wedding. But it gives those opportunities for his character to reset and play up each moment again.
Later on, around that time you're describing, is when he started to become, for me, a believable, relatable person dealing with the ridiculous.
Yes.
When he was an over-the-top ridiculous person dealing with the ridiculous, there seemed like there was no anchor.
Oh, interesting.
So-
I always view that makes sense. I always viewed the family as the anchor because no one else is acting ridiculous in this movie. I mean, except for Martin Short, I would say. Martin Short is the other one. But really, the only thing ridiculous about Martin Short's character is the accent. And, a wedding coordinator, it can be like, this is the price of these things. Like the speed of which it happened is ridiculous. That's not what it is.
Right.
You don't flip through 2 cakes and then say, I want this one. No, you actually have to taste them. And you also go to a lot of different places, right? Even in the 90s, it wasn't one person who did all these things. It was someone who had a list of all the vendors and they talked to them. So there is artistic license, liberties, making that more streamlined.
I mean, so many of those artistic liberties are entirely built in to Martin Short's character.
Yes.
Hi, I'm vaguely European from somewhere, and I am absolutely a deus ex machina for certain aspects of this happening.
And the supporting character with the wacky accent and strong opinions, that was kind of a movie trope from the mid-'80s into the 90s. I think this is one of the best examples, though, because Martin Short can sell that and make that real.
Yeah.
And it also helped that we were saying to ourselves watching this movie, by the end of it, he might be an over-the-top caricature of a person. He's good at his job.
Yeah.
He actually made an amazing wedding happen under weird constraints.
Yeah.
They lucked out hiring him.
Yeah.
So the fact that he could be ridiculous and yet he was another anchor in that way.
Yeah.
He made this happen. And that helped. It helped me enjoy the caricature of his character. It was a fun, weird Martin Short role. But he added so much to the storyline.
Yeah. And I also really love that the overreacting line. Right, they have this idea that it's like the Banks family has like a long line of overreactors. And they kind of give that as a character base. And the idea that there's people who overreact is, that is a character trait.
A family aspect in that.
Yeah. It seemed sometimes like it was the way it was being portrayed was like from a different movie. But I think that it's the kind of thing that Steve Martin was learning how to do still. Talented as he is, he was learning how to do that at this point, and still did a very good job in this movie overall.
The implication that the Banks family having a habit of overreacting feels like it's coming from another movie might be truer than you thought.
Oh, yeah?
Gonna just note that for later.
Okay, because, there's some references in here.
Yes.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
It's part of the... I do the research. I know. I do research and then put little notes in things and pop stuff up later.
There's so many moments in this movie that, it is the father-daughter relationship at the heart of it. Like, there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of funny things. But there really is. And as you said, I really loved that it is this stages of grief, that he's really viewing that he's losing her, which, of course, in a way, but it's just she's growing up.
Yeah.
And that's natural and it's good, but it's also difficult and new and challenging and changing and all those other things.
Right. Any change you don't feel in control of.
Of course. But there are several lovely moments. There's them playing basketball when she gets home, I think, where he's like, okay, this is a lot for me to handle. I love you. Can I welcome you home? Kind of, and say that even though you're engaged, you know, you're still my daughter. So there's that moment. There's the moment when he comes down and she's fallen asleep on the couch with like a bride magazine of how to make a cheaper wedding, because he's been so obsessed with the budget. And he, you know, that really is like, none of these are good. Like, I want more for my daughter. Like, I don't want a friend to take the pictures. I want her to have good pictures. And, you know, so there's that moment, and there's several throughout later that really touch on this relationship.
Yeah, those points in the movie where they got a chance to slow down and really see a connection between these characters, I thought they were really well played. That went the point at the movie in which she has a fight with her fiance. And she thinks the wedding is off, and he is mature enough, and he gets to be the dad in a way that he hasn't been before, because he's never had to be her dad in this context before. And he listens to her, super important. He hasn't done a lot of listening so far in the movie until that point. He listens to her, he kind of understands, and he guides her towards a new understanding of what happened. Lets her express her feelings, but yet at the same time, he realizes she'd be giving up something wonderful if she let this really get in the way of her marriage. And I love that bit, because that was the turning point at which this character realized there's more to being a dad than raising a daughter until she's an adult.
I love that moment. And a part of that moment I'm going to say is that Brian has told her this, her fiance has told her this story. They got into an argument, right? They get heated, and they say, your father did this crazy stuff at my parents' house. And that scene that he does the crazy stuff, I always cringe at that scene. I don't love that scene.
An example of it, the over-the-top early
stuff. But him saying that was all true. So Steve Martin admitting to that, right? That's the last piece that the bride needs to say, wait, he didn't lie to me, even though he was upset, right? That's the piece that makes her go. And when this movie is aired on TV, those two pieces are cut for time. So all of that crazy, like him snooping in the in-laws' house, that is all cut. And therefore, which I always enjoy not having to see that, because I think it's very cringy, right? And I think it's a little overdone, yada, yada. But then when it comes time for her to accept, to be okay, that also moment is cut where he says, you remember that story? That whole story is cut.
That ruins so much of the other connections as well.
I agree.
Because the connection between him and the daughter is huge. But that moment isn't just for him and his daughter. That is one of the two key points of him having a connection with his future son-in-law. First one is that initial meeting where we get to see him question, kind of like, oh, what does this job even do? What does this guy even do? But we established that he's a business owner earlier. And immediately you watch as he plays an excellent job of, as he's hearing about you do telecommunication systems for businesses. You're making sure that people are working across stuff. And you watch this like, oh, that's legitimate. And you get to watch as the future son-in-law. It's like, probably doesn't even sound like a real job. He literally is phrase for phrase the same things. And there's he's got a good head on his shoulders, kind of.
It's like, darn it, I can't hate this kid.
Darn it, I can't hate this. He knows what he's doing. And then that connection of the admittance and the discussion about what this was, there is that relation as a provider and as a person. And those two parts together fit so well in this depiction.
To be fair, that scene in the bar is not cut. Like, what's cut is any mention of his actions when in the daughter's bedroom. Like,
that
when
moment of honesty.
It's that moment of honesty. And that moment where she says, like, he told me this completely ridiculous story. That's cut. And so it's like couple of lines here and there in that scene, but it lessens that scene for me. But the bar scene is still that is so important. That is not.
I was worried that got tricked.
No. Okay. No, it's just any mention of the shenanigans.
We've been watching it from newer DVD releases and Blu-ray releases, which are good full copies available. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We've mentioned the relationship that Steve Martin's character has with his wife, played by Diane Keaton,
Mhm.
which is excellent. And definitely that back and forth is very important. I want to note the fact that Kieran Culkin, as the younger brother, is doing so much to make this work in the weirdest way, because he is bringing in a type of character that I think was common in the 80s and 90s of the little brother, and yet always being able to say, I could start up one of those kind of films right now if I wanted, and I love all of you too much to do that.
Yes.
It's like doing a story about Thor, the God of Thunder, and just having Loki stand in the background and say, I'm a trickster. I can start doing trickster stuff at any time, but I won't this time.
Yes.
Means a lot. And you see that, like, I'm here to help, and I'm not messing anything up. And he's leaning on a lot of other films in the zeitgeist in terms of that concept, I
Right.
think. But it's doing a lot of making this family
Mhm.
look like, and they care and respect each other enough to not add another thing they don't have to.
Yes, and I think that character is played very well and also written well, because he's a smart, engaging kid, but he's still a kid, believably as a kid. He's not a 40-year-old comedian in a kid's body, the way these movies sometimes play it.
Yeah.
And that, you're right, that is a particular kind of role from that time.
Mhm.
It's also something that you can see. I had never seen this before, so I had never seen this early role from Kieran Culkin,
Mhm.
but I can sort of see how it fits into the progression. A lot of the parts that he's played between this and, I know there are some other movies whose names I'm forgetting, but also Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
big one.
just a few weeks ago, I saw him in his latest movie, A Real Pain, where he's playing opposite Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh.
And he's playing more of like a 30-something kind of a lost man-child. And he's got that intelligence and engagingness, and yet that's still that believability. It's amazing to see that in such a little kid
Yeah.
in 1991.
He's doing an amazing
Very,
job
very
there.
talented.
Yeah, and we found out that there's a Father of the Bride 3-ish. And as we came to learn, it was actually filmed during COVID, so it's all through Zoom.
Oh.
And it was written by Nancy Myers. And like, and so it's like
it's all in the canon.
It's all
But
canon.
it even has him in there.
Mhm. And like
Oh, that's cool.
that actor, like they brought all these actors back, as a lot of entertainers were doing during that lockdown time.
Oh,
They were
that's
trying
neat.
to create things. And so they're all in their Zoom squares.
Yeah.
And it's played like this is 2020, and it's actually about the little brother's wedding.
Oh, nice.
And it's like a 30-minute thing.
But
Cool.
the fact that he's able to pull the same character up,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
you can see everyone else kind of hop in, and they're playing in their character, but you can see some of their other roles.
Mhm.
I gotta say, he just is like, oh, yep, I'm back to this character. And he plays it perfectly on that. He's got that energy we're describing that he's been able to have in all his new stuff. He's able to go to whatever he needs on it.
That's
It's a
great.
skill as an actor.
Yeah.
And he has some excellent moments next to Steve Martin on that. And it says something that he's playing alongside Steve Martin
Mhm.
at that age. And they are keeping pace with each other,
Mhm.
actor to actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was really fun. So I would suggest, like, anyone who likes The Father of the Bride with Steve Martin, I think would really enjoy just checking
Oh, that's
that.
great.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
And everything I've ever heard about Steve Martin on set and working with people is that he is such a great person to work with and a generous actor in terms of helping younger actors and kind of mentoring them to the extent they could. I could certainly see him making a connection, even with this little kid,
Mhm.
which is why some of those scenes we do have between Mr. Banks and Kieran Culkin's character, they play so well because there is this nice little acknowledgement towards the end that he wants the kid to know that he's sorry if it seems like you've been forgotten in all of this, but you've been a chance, and he helps him out with learning the steps to walking down the aisle. Such a wonderful, brief little scene, and that's in the half of the movie where I really think that Steve Martin and his character
Mhm.
Yeah.
are being something I could believe and connect with.
Yeah.
I love that bit.
Yeah.
And the fact that Kieran Culkin at that age plays it so well helps make it work.
Mhm.
I love that moment too when they both say goodnight to each other.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the last time he'll hear that. you
Wow.
know, in that way. And that Yeah.
Okay.
So many things. Okay, yes.
We've kind of hit around that point of the movie, though. I want to ask something about what people thought of the actual wedding itself. Because we see a wedding in this film.
Yeah.
We see the choices they made for this wedding. And it is an odd setup at times.
There are parts of this movie that make me wonder if anybody involved had ever been to a wedding.
Yes.
I mean, is it actually a tradition anywhere that the bride's family must fly other family members from overseas to attend the wedding?
I've never
Not
heard
that I've ever.
one.
Yeah.
I guess I've heard, like, I definitely heard that the bride's family pays for the wedding.
Right.
But I'd never really include airfare in that,
Yes.
I must say. Also, the time around of saying we're engaged to now we have a guest list.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like a day and a half.
Getting RSVPs is a single piece of the montage that just involves, like, putting envelopes in shoe boxes, and it's done.
How?
There is something to be said for doing that analog. It seemed at least,
Yeah, I mean,
at least it was
that's
a little
90s.
more clear when it was analog.
It was
Yeah.
90s. Yeah, we also think this is 90s airfare, 90s mail, everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you get three beautiful,
I
but
mean-
three murder geese known as swans to show up at your wedding? This sounds like you're inviting agents of chaos that flap into the event you're trying to do organized.
And they're never seen in the wedding itself. They're in the bathtub, and there's also one time when they're sitting outside that Steve Martin has to jump over.
Oh, yes.
I don't know, but people do crazy things for their
Right.
wedding also.
Yes.
Like, I'm just going to say that if you've got the money, though, like, you can do crazy
Yeah.
stuff.
And they did establish that as concerned as he was about budget, these people were well off.
Yes.
He could have paid for all of the things that were being asked without it being a huge hardship,
Mhm.
but it was part of his resistance to the event,
Yeah.
was his not wanting to pay as much as the initial dream would have cost.
Let's see. They're doing the wedding at the house.
They did the reception at the house.
Yes.
Reception,
The ceremony at the church. And the
reception at the house. But they, like, redid all the flower beds and everything with
They did it.
tulips and such.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. There's something about this, though. It's adding new things to go
Right.
right.
There are things that I think are very reasonable because I've certainly been to weddings where this happens,
Uh-huh.
right? So I've been to the ceremonies at the church and then we go to the residency for the reception. But like, I also don't know what that residency looked like beforehand.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the backyard was beautiful. It had twinkle lights. Like, it was upscale. Like, I can't imagine this is how it looks like on a day-to-day,
Right.
right? They also had, like, bartenders there, right? So I think planting flowers is going a little far, like,
Yeah.
especially in the front when the party is in the tent, the party's in the back.
Mhm.
But there wasn't too much that I thought was crazy. Like, I've also been to a wedding where the ceremony and reception was in their backyard.
Mhm.
The ceremony was under open air, so it was like, you know, free. And then they'd had a tent, like
Yeah.
a party rental tent, put up on the other half of the yard, and then we went under there to have dinner, and we just like took our chairs from the ceremony and moved it over.
Mhm.
So it's like renting a tent isn't crazy to me. So I think the only really wedding crazy thing was really the swans and the
Yeah.
flower beds, maybe.
And the fact that they made a big plot point of the fact that he didn't get a chance to really see his daughter, talk to her. There was no planned father-daughter dance.
Yeah.
That seemed like it was pretty unlikely. I know they were setting that up so that they could set up the pathos.
Right.
And that seemed to make it seem very artificial to me. They didn't even acknowledge, well, these things had been planned and some ridiculous thing got in their way.
Mm.
At least that would have fit the movie.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity for that if they'd flipped two pieces of information.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The invitations we see sent out, and this is one of the things I learned on the Goofs page from IMDb, actually. The invitations sent out say the wedding's in October. And then when talking to Franck, it's happening in January.
Yes.
So if you wanted to just flip those and say somebody's doing it that many months early, you could have actually exploited
guess.
that sort of problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they also have a problem with the cars.
Yes.
They've got hundreds of cars, and he skimped and only had a couple of parking attendants.
Yeah.
Now, did they have like a parking area rented somewhere, and they just didn't have enough attendants to get the cars there, or what? I'm not sure how that was supposed to work.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, I guess
But-
you're right. You guys are pointing out
Yeah.
some good points there. But yeah, I would agree.
As ridiculous as that was, I really did enjoy the bit where the two kids are helping Banks move the cars. Utterly unbelievable and ridiculous.
Oh,
and
yeah.
a ton of fun.
Absolutely.
I loved every bit of that.
Yes, yes.
I don't think we ever see, like, how are they reading the pedals?
No.
I want to see the couple of soup, a couple of soup cans tied to the feet kind of moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Maddie's a clever kid. He'll figure something
Absolutely.
I can only imagine he picks friends as clever as he.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of prep that happens, but a lot of the actual event seems unstructured in some odd ways.
Yep.
The chaos of you're moving all the furniture out and then you'll put chairs in is a fine example of this sort of feeling, I will say.
I will say that one thing that definitely felt like non-realistic is Franck saying, you handle this, I have to go be at the bouquet tossing, or like they're cutting the cake. This is a huge amount, I have to be there.
Yeah.
No, that's reversed.
Yeah.
Like that is 1,000% reversed. And I think if you ask any wedding coordinator, they would 100% say that, because it is a wedding coordinator's job is to make the event go smoothly.
Right.
And so that the couple gets as many things that they want to actually happen. It's one day and it's a year and a half of planning or more.
Right.
And so their job is to make it go all smoothly. And part of that is having the bride and groom's family be present for those big moments, not the coordinator. So really what they should have done, I mean, in reality, right, Franck would have been the one to deal with the cars, and he would have said, you go be with your daughter because this is my job. This is what you're paying me to do. And he also, side note, you wouldn't invite your wedding coordinator because like you're paying them to be there. Like,
yeah.
they're not like that
was very odd.
That was very odd.
Just side note.
Yeah, there's an invitation or RSVP for the wedding planner, but that's like you say, that's their job is to be there, not to be attending the wedding.
Correct.
To be there and
They're
making the wedding
it.
happen. Right.
Yeah.
Franck seems to be good at his job, but the trial of Franck by a whole group of other wedding coordinators pointing out everything he did wrong, that would be a thing. I would watch that on YouTube. Like, you get I want to like, you see those things where they get like a professional athlete to watch a sports movie or something. Get like a couple of professional wedding coordinators to go over some of the scenes of this. It'd be a fascinating time. And I think they'll come up with the same result I do, which is Franck's assistant is odd.
Yes.
More than Franck is. Franck's assistant reads like they're using Franck's business as a money laundering scheme or something. What is going on? They are putting the weirdest air and weirdest spin on every scene they're in.
That was a weird role for B.D. Wong.
Yeah.
Well, and what's also, I mean, it's not role specific, but if you notice, he's the only cast member of Minority.
Yes.
That's
which definitely was product of time.
Yeah.
That was just like, oh wow, this is really
that's something you always have to note with any of the films we watch. There's definitely that thing where there's definitely times when we're realizing we've gotten a lot better about just how we represent what we show.
And that's something that you hear that commentary a lot about Charles Shire and Nancy Meyer's movies. He directed this. That, they happen in a very white world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, again, something to note and to recognize as you're doing, I think, constructive criticism, review of historical pieces, to just be like that to acknowledge it versus, just kind of push it on the rug or something. So I was just having that moment.
Yeah, it's very, very important.
Which I honestly think is really cool, because in the 2020 thing that I mentioned beforehand, Maddie, the little kid, his chosen bride to be is a woman of color. And I thought that was like, it brought it in a little bit.
Yeah, they're kind of dealing with that overall in the scope of the world of this as a series. The first one has that issue, and they work on dealing with that as they go into later films and subsequent material.
The score, I thought, was very, very 90s.
Very 90s.
But it worked. It was this big, festive score.
Nice mix
helps
of the traditional wedding songs and such mixed in, but it's got some of the wacky hijinks 90s movie kind of soundtrack as well. It never goes overboard on it. It's always in good emphasis. It's never the thing keeping something funny while things are happening.
Yeah.
I would say that too.
And I thought that the wedding ceremony scene itself was beautifully done.
Yes.
I thought that was wonderfully shot, wonderfully designed. That's the point at which we thought, Franck has done a good job. Might be over the top, but
he's done
a good job.
Yeah, and I love how calm Annie is.
Yes.
There's just this real moment of peace and knowing this is her path, being completely confident with her choices. And I thought it was so sweet that Steve Martin was like, this is completely on Bank's life. You know? It's like, why is this? And I just thought that was so lovely.
Yes, this confidence that showed up in that piece.
Yeah.
I like that. And her fiance, he's portrayed as a really, really good guy.
Yeah.
Really great.
Really good guy. Yeah.
Did you recognize him?
I recognized that I recognized him, not where I recognized him from.
He's got such distinctive eyes, this actor. But he is in Adventures in Babysitting. He's the actual good guy that she meets at the party in Chicago.
Him. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I remember you showed me that movie.
Yes.
It's like, that's him.
It is.
But I didn't connect it back because I don't know that movie well enough.
Oh, goodness. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's George Newbern, who's in Adventures in Babysitting.
Very nice. Okay.
He just plays all sorts of good guys.
He does. Yeah, he's very good at that kind of role. He's the bright, engaging, the guy you should be happy your daughter met.
Yeah. Yeah. I also love that opening monologue from Steve Martin where he's like, first you're worried about having your daughter meet the wrong kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then you start worrying about her meeting the right guy.
Yes. I like that.
That's cute.
Yeah.
So, one cute moment is when we meet during the wedding Bob Banks, the grandfather, George's father, played by Tom Irish.
Yeah.
Tom Irish was known for playing a Banks in the 51 version. So, going to that point I bookmarked, the callback is there's implications of the family at the wedding that the 51 version of Father the Bride is still canon to the 90s version.
So that this is
the Banks family.
This is not a remake, it's a sequel.
This might be just... They're talking about the Banks family gets all flustered and such. It's part of what we do. That might be calling back to the original story and going forward from there, that they're all part of the same continuity.
I like that.
I do too.
And I think that might mean that we're moving towards our final questions.
I think we might be.
So listeners, stay tuned for our final questions when we talk about whether we recommend this movie and also what we would like to see happen with this property in the future. But in the meantime, if you're enjoying the Inter-Millennium Media Project, please go to IMMproject.com. That's where you will find all of our back episodes, including that episode about Adventures in Babysitting. And you'll also find links to ways you can support the podcast, including our shop and including Patreon, where you will get more bonus audio content. And you'll also find our contact page. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this movie? What have you thought about any of the movies we've discussed? You can reach us by email, by US mail, on Discord, and you can also find us on Blue Sky and Mastodon. And Jen, our guest, where can people find you?
Oh, where can people find me?
Yeah.
I am on Instagram as Life with a Hint of Lemons, because all life is great, but sometimes there's a little bit of sour that we have to work through. And I've also written a book. It's called Safety in Shadows by Jennifer Ogden on Amazon. It is urban fantasy about integrating species and humans through political means.
Mm-hmm. And I can be found as Item Crafting most places, be that itemcrafting.com or Item Crafting Live on Twitch. Come join me every Thursday for some fun games and some fun crafting. Yay.
And you can find me as By Matthew Porter. You can find me on bymatthewporter.com. Also By Matthew Porter on YouTube, where I review movies and movie theaters. And you can also find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon as By Matthew Porter.
Mm-hmm. So
now, final questions.
Final questions. It's a movie, so our first one is screen or no screen. Is this a movie we suggest people watch, or is this one you can skip?
Absolutely watch it.
Watch it.
I knew
it's going to be... Jen's going to give it a screen, and I'm going to give it a screen too. It's very fun. I admit, I know, and I didn't bring it up until now, I've learned Steve Martin and Martin Short. I've seen more of them now in multiple seasons of Only Murders in the Building.
Yes.
But going back to see them working together earlier is wonderful and fun. And they do a great job, and it's a fun film. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and this is a few years after they worked together on The Three Amigos. And yeah, so they've had a long history together.
Yeah. Okay. What's your thoughts, Dad?
I don't know.
Ooh.
Enough of the movie made me cringe and roll my eyes that I was very much inclined towards a do not screen.
Sorry.
It's a soft do not screen. If you really are a big Steve Martin fan, or really a big Nancy Meyers fan, or Charles Shire fan, watch it to fill in that part of the filmography. Be aware that there are some things that you might find cringy and over the top the way I did. So I say don't screen, but it's easy to overcome that.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
So our next question then is revive, reboot, or rest in peace. And revive means that we want something else within this same continuity, within the same canon. This remains part of what happened, like a prequel or sequel. Reboot means we want it to start again. We want another take on this same idea or the same story. Rest in peace is, let's let this be what it is. We don't need more. We don't need a remake.
So there was already one reboot. It's on HBO Max. I haven't gone to see it because we don't have HBO Max.
Yeah.
But it was made in...
I believe that was 2020.
And it looks really interesting because, again, it like brings up cultural things where now the bride and groom don't want to get married in a church, and the family's like, no, you have to get, like, what? And so it brings in those kind of things, but it also has the same, like, father really loves the daughter, that same connection, the over, exaggerated, expensive or wealthy groom's family, and has to having to deal with that. So it looks like bringing that same dynamic, the family dynamics, up into the 21st century's struggles with bigger price tags, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the version from 1950. We've got the version from 91. The version from 91 and the version from 1950 each got a sequel.
Right.
Be that Father and the Bride 2 or the awkwardly titled sequel to the 1950 version, which is Father's Little Dividend. What the? When I read that name, I was like, why?
They didn't simply add numbers to sequels back then.
No. They did. It was a year later, and the weirdest thing is, apparently the 51 sequel did better in theaters than the 50s version.
Really?
Yeah, which is equally weird, but absolutely, this is a series that keeps getting new versions that deal with different changes in culture and everything else constantly.
Yeah.
And that's even weirder because the 50s version is an adaptation of a book from 49.
Yes.
A book that I can find no good info on. It's the barest Wikipedia page I've ever seen. I can find listings for copies places, but not a lot of discussion of it. The movies have completely overwhelmed the search optimization of any version of this. And there's talk from Disney, who got rights back again, that they're going to make another.
Oh.
So there's talk from like 2018 that they were already in scripting for that version. So it seems like we might be getting more again. And whether or not that's connected back to the Disney-owned Steve Martin version is not known.
It's a perennial story. It's always going to be a story that people are interested in, that there's going to be something to tell. And it's, as you pointed out, Jen, it's a story that's going to change in its details as culture changes, as the economy changes. So I think that it's inevitable that we'll keep getting remakes. And I think that's great. I think it's a good story to tell. It gives opportunity to show kinds of characters we don't often get in movies. This relationship of a father to a child. I think that we will definitely get remakes, and I welcome them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, same. And honestly, like, seeing that 30-minute clip from the 2020 made me like, oh, they could do things with these characters. They could go places.
Yeah.
And that definitely was like, I would love a revival, right?
Yeah.
Is using that term correctly? Because it's like, I would love the same actors and everyone to come back and do like what's been going on in their life. Because I mean, I instantly, like, when we turned to each other, we're like, here's the pitch for movie 4, you know, and that.
Do Annie and Brian have a kid that has grown up now?
Yeah.
There's plenty in there. So I honestly, that's where I'm at too. It's like, I think that reboot is inevitable, and that's wonderful. And thinking about this version specifically, I'd love a revive.
Yeah.
I'd love a little bit more
Yeah.
of this version of the Banks family.
Yeah, especially with where they leave off with everybody in Father of the Bride 2. So, because I know Matthew hasn't seen that, but we have, and I like knowing where they go. It's like, oh, there's so much more, and we would love to. I would love to get to see the Banks family again. Put it that way. Yeah.
Well, there's an entire other person in the family who can throw movies at us.
I enjoyed this thoroughly. I'd love to come back. I also totally respect father son time. And also, I don't want to have to watch any ancient movies because, so I love my fiance, I love my Ian, I love my family that I'm joining. But I am one of those weirdos who I like to watch movies starting at the year I was born and moving forward, not backwards. So
it starts with anything you've seen when you were a kid, Dad, right?
Yes, but some of them are from the 20s, and I'm not that old.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 1920s.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those weird ones.
We have a lot of good sources for movies from the 90s, though.
Yes,
that's true.
Apparently, so Ian told me that you guys kind of skipped the 90s.
That's true.
And I would love to show you Runaway.
So, yeah, if there's suggestions that you out there, audience, have, that Dad and I don't know anything of, there's a fine chance Jen might have an opinion on, and she can poke us to watch them. So,
indeed.
Huzzah.
Yay! Well, this was a lot of fun. It was great to have you join us, Jen.
Thank you.
And listeners, we hope you enjoyed this. And around here, it is going to be busy the next couple of months as we're recording this, but we are planning ahead. So we still will return in 2 weeks with more tales of media from the 20th century.
And in the meantime, go watch something new.